Hey, man. I know you. What's your name?
Edward?
Do you work for Facebook?
No, but I get this a lot.
Oh, hey, neighbor. People can be cruel, I imagine.
All unhappiness in life comes from not accepting what is. You know who taught me that? Lady Gaga.
A Different Man. So this is a very tormenting view of a gentleman called Edward, who is very disfigured in the face, living in this apartment block, and he lives a very shy, kind of cowardice, subtle life, and he just wants to hide away from everyone because of his disfigurement of his face. Until Ingrid, a very attractive, tall lady, she moves in next door and sparks a flame inside of him, which just hasn't been there for clearly many years, and she doesn't judge him and just treats him like just a normal human being, which he is. And this is a very interesting story until Edward decides to take this medication, and next thing you know, his face, his monstrosity starts peeling off. So anyway, Alex, without further ado, what did we make of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, very, very good, very interesting take. It's a very intimate sort of personal film because it's filmed very close indoors and just follows this character around very closely, and we get to see this condition, this medical condition. I don't know what it's called, but essentially his face is all disfigured and he can barely see, only sees with one eye, and it's very jarring when you see it first, because I didn't know this existed, and I didn't know it's that bad, it's that obvious. So obviously this will affect anybody's mentality, but the element of, let's call it fantasy, this miracle treatment that he does, and that essentially scrapes away that deformed face and leaves him with the face of Sebastian Stan, which is as we know, a charming actor, the Winter Soldier he turns into, and then he's trying to adapt or erase his past, and he's trying to adapt his life to this new, different, more likable, if we call it that, more successful person. And the thing is that what I liked, and I'll ask you this, is Edward has this mentality that he thinks that good looks will get you to places, and then he tries to use that once he gets this new face. Do you think that's the right thing? Is that the message that the film wants to say?
So yeah, I do think that's the message, and I think this is where maybe I might part ways with the idea of that. I mean, so Edward is, before that his face falls off and he becomes Sebastian Stan, as you say, he's not got the best job, he's not got a girlfriend or wife to speak of, and he lives a very kind of dull, almost depressing life, right? And then when the face falls off, he seems to have a flashy apartment. He kind of seems to live a bit like a Patrick Bateman sort of style. It's a nice apartment. He's got a woman in his life that hasn't got a name, and he has a successful job in sales, right? So it's like that all happens because his face falls off. That's what the film tells us. And then when Ingrid, because this is a course of probably 2 years after the medication works, and then Ingrid comes back into his life, and he inserts himself into her life again. But of course, at this point, she doesn't know that it's Edward, right? Because he goes by an alibi, a different name. And then that's when the film gets interesting, because we're introduced to Oswald, aren't we, Alex? And can you just tell us a bit about who Oswald was in the film?
Yeah, so Oswald is similarly disfigured like he is, but he's the total opposite in regards to his life. So essentially, he's very successful. He's a casting director. He acts himself. He's got friends. He's got relationship. He's successful overall in life, both personally and financially. And all of a sudden, Edward, the new Edward with the new face, is thrown into. He's confused because he thought that's not even possible with a condition like that, and Oswald is proving that it is.
Look, you said it yourself. How can he become you? You're nothing alike. It's not believable. And it's not necessary. She loves him for who he is. It was contrived.
I still think the idea is theoretically sound, though what we didn't count on, and this might just stem from me being a novice, is that the audience have just spent 2 hours rooting for Edward, which, in this particular iteration, is me. If someone else then walks out and goes, oh, I'm Edward now, even if it's a Kenneth Branagh or whomever, the audience will feel cheated. We've broken our pact with them. They'll rightly rebel.
Look, I still want to be friends, and I'll keep you in mind for future projects.
The mask is mine.
So I thought that is what the film actually says very nicely, the fact that you can achieve what you want to achieve or be happy with whatever condition you have, because the world out there will accept you, or you will find the people that will accept you the way you are. Back to the real estate job that he gets, we're not shown by the film that he actually applied for those type of roles. He might have just given up, not even trying to apply for those roles, just because his own mind was keeping him at bay. And the fact that Oswald is successful shows him, and this is where the trauma in the film goes sideways, because it's like, wait, I can actually do whatever I want, even if I'm disfigured like that, and then that's what the film is trying to say. But I think Oswald was, obviously in real life, he's a real actor with this condition, and it's actually it's a very interesting character. What did you thought about him, Baz?
Yeah, no, it is. He's like the character he plays is like say he's a playwright, he's an actor, he's an intellectual to say the least. He's one of these people that wouldn't shut up at a dinner party because he's always got something interesting to say, or he's always got a certain catchphrase he might utter. And it's kind of this like almost a little bit posh, indie type kind of charmer. That's his personality, Oswald. And I was going to say the film kind of contradicts itself a little bit, because obviously he's saying he can lead a life of splendor even if you look like that. But the first portion of the film is Edward suffering greatly because of the way he is. But to flip that on its head again, I think what you're trying to say is that it was Edward's perception of himself that kept him down. And if he was more like Oswald, then he...
Self-inflicted.
Yes,
yeah.
If he was more like Oswald, he would be able to live a normal life and in actually prosper, That's where I'm still finding it a little bit hard to accept, because, I guess the gentleman who played Oswald is living proof that you can become an actor. It's kind of funny in a way, because the film is about facial disfigurement, and it actually stars someone who has facial disfigurement. So the film's idea around that is it's almost like living proof that you can live a semi-normal life just by starring this guy, which I think is quite clever in a way. But so it's got lots of ideas behind it, but I think that's the general message, isn't it? It's about perception of oneself and how much are you going to put yourself down because there's one or two things wrong with you, even if they are massive.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody needs to be perfect, and when and that actually shows when he becomes Sebastian Stan, and he thinks he's perfect. That actually doesn't work out for him, and even the film looks. I liked the modesty of the film, because it looks very on a budget, let's call it, even though it has these big actors in it. But it looks very contained and sometimes claustrophobic and washed out, and it's almost like it mirrors the life that Edward has before he becomes successful. I like that about the film. But also, this message is actually a happy message. Don't lose hope. Don't put yourself down just because you've been dealt a wrong hand or a bad hand. It's not the end of the world. Just keep at it, essentially.